there is a big ram.
Steady.
This is their breeding field. So this is their big ram that's in the back. So he's probably going to be a little bit more
Dot, come.
of them as well. There's the dog.
Dottie, come.
Back.
So the dog is moving the sheep in a gentle way with its eyes. Britt, get back. Bonnie, stay there. See, the young dog on this side that's running back and forth is a new youngster. And she doesn't quite understand, you know, to get down. See how this one's getting down really nicely? All right. So it is now March the 13th, and what we are doing is we are breeding for fall lambs. And the fall lambs is kind of cool because everyone wants to have naturally fed, grass-fed animals. And these fall lambs will not see a drop of grain. They will be born in late August, early September, and they will be fed totally on hay crop aftermath, and they will go off for both the Christmas market and later in December.
Great.
Which is great. So that's all natural, no Midwestern grain. You know, we do supplement them sometimes a little bit of whole corn. There's a group here and there's another group in the other pasture. So we'll probably do, I don't know, 60 or 70 for fall, and we did about 130 for the winter. And you'll notice that these lambs, quite a few of these sheep, Jody, are black. And the reason for that is we use a natural colored wool. So what is Wellscroft about? Is that what you want me to?
Yeah, that's
so
how did you get started with this? Oh my gosh.
So take a look. If you look at this pasture over here, you'll see there's a lot of rocks there.
There is.
Take a look at all these rocks. When I moved here, you couldn't see the mountain. Okay, there's no mountain. See how big these trees are?
Yep.
And I talked to our county agent, Bruce Clement, a little bit about what we could do, and he said, well, you know, you're not really going to make a lot of hay up here. You're not really going to grow a lot of crops. I think sheep. And so at the time, what we did was we got into sheep a little bit. My ex-wife was a spinner and weaver, and we decided that we would raise black sheep. We have actually now one of the largest black flocks in New England for the natural colored wool. And I'm sure that you and your audience have walked through the woods and seen these stone walls with trees in the middle of, in the middle of forest. And that's because, as you know, 150 years ago, 80% of this area was open.
Right.
Monadnock was clear to the top with sheep.
Right.
So that's what we do. So we sell wool, we sell meat, breeding stock, and then we also have boar goats, which you'll see in a bit, and we use those to reclaim land. We also sell pigs, and we get pigs as a way of giving people locally grown pork, but we also take a lot of the leftover food from farmers markets, stores, that kind of thing, and that's what they're fed on.
Right.
And we use the pigs as an interim pasture renovation animal. So
because they like to dig things up.
Yep, the goats will go in. That whole, not this side, of course this is March, so nothing's green, but believe me, it's lush.
Right.
And the other thing that we do that's kind of interesting, that's a word you probably haven't heard of, is called silvopasture. And what that means is you take, and instead of clear cutting everything, you leave trees. See all these trees in here? So what happens is the pasture underneath it grows great. Now it's no good for making hay because you can't run, you can't run hay machinery around there. But for animals, these sheep that you see, there's a whole bunch of sheep up in the corner there. I'll get them down. They spent the whole winter out here. These sheep are shorn now, but if they weren't shorn, it could snow 6 inches, all right? And as long as it never got above freezing for 1 week, 1 week later, there'd be 6 inches of snow in their back, which means it's 32 degrees here and 6 inches down, it's 102 degrees on their back. So you tell me if wool isn't a good insulation.
Right.
Let's see if we can move them over a little bit. Britt, come by. Walk up. Now you'll see that the ram is challenging. He's the one looking at the dog. Takes a lot of power. Britt, walk up. That dog is 13 years old, by the way. See him turn his head? Britt, Britt, walk up. Okay, Dot, Dottie, come. Dot. So we put a little extra eye on it. Now the problem is that these guys are in a box. And once that ram, there's a thing called pressure point. Once that ram, that if Britt gets too close to him, then they're gonna turn and run and challenge. So I'm gonna have her go a little further back. And what, I'll bring in another dog if it doesn't work. Britt, come by. Britty, get back. Come on, come by. Britt. All right, watch what happens when I bring Nell. Nell, get back out. Come by. See, one dog, see the difference? Nell, come by, get back. Nellie, out. Right there. See, now they'll come over easy. Britt, away. Dot, 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 dot. Dot. She'll head him back
Yeah.
and bring him right
Bonnie,
back. Walk up. See how fast she goes? When I blow this whistle 3 times. Out the loop. Bonnie, 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 Bonnie. Boy, come on, Bonnie. Bonnie, out. Come on, out. Britt.
Good
Nellie,
job.
Nellie, get up. Get up.
Very so you do sheep, you do goats. I saw a goat being born the other day, and we have some footage of that. And having it, the mother cleaned it up, and I think it's in the barn now. We might even see it a little bit later.
See that later, yep.
Yep, yep. Pigs, you have chickens.
Yep, we
What
have
else?
about 100 chickens. We supply the Harrisville store with some eggs.
Yep, yep.
And then we have pigs. We only do like 16 pigs a year.
Yeah, yeah, and you probably sell those as well.
Yep. Oh
Yep,
yeah. Oh
yep,
yeah.
yeah.
We'll sell 250 lambs this year.
Right, right. And that's mostly around Easter, or
No, we have various markets. We do the Easters, Greek and Roman. Then we also do what we call freezer trade. Somebody like yourself or your people who are watching this
Yep.
would order a half or a whole lamb.
right.
USDA inspected, frozen, cut the way they like. Then we also sell market lambs for a lot of 4-H kids, people like that. Or say, Jody, you had a bunch of land that you wanted to clear. You would get some market lambs from us. You would raise them all summer long, and then they would go in the freezer. And then we also do breeding stock, and that's it.
Wow.
Same with the goats.
Yep. Yep.
And so you try to spread out your markets.
And I think you were telling me the other day that goat meat is the most popular meat in the world.
It's the most widely consumed red meat in the world, goat
Yep,
meat.
yeah. And I know a lot of you probably haven't had a lot of goat, but I used to eat goat quite a bit. I like Indian food.
Yep.
And they use a lot of goat, and it's just delicious. It's not fatty. It's
Very,
right
very
there.
good.
It's
Yep.
meat.
And I only have a few goats, but my farm manager, Tiger Batchelor, has Hidden Birch Farm.
Yep.
He has quite a few goats. He has
Yep.
a lot of them, and he sells meat to end users like you, and
Yep.
he also sells it in the Harrisville store and various
Yeah.
other places if
Right.
people want to try it.
Yeah, yeah, and I really think they should, because you just don't know. You eat steak all the time, or chicken or pork or whatever, but goat, that's, I don't know, it's just different.
It is
So,
different,
yeah.
but it's very lean. It's
Yeah,
very good. We'll look
it
at
is.
some goats. Of course, they'll look at the small goats and say, I'm not going to eat that. But
Yeah, yeah. So we talked a little bit about the stone walls
Yep.
and how those keep the sheep in, but you also
Well, stone
have-
walls don't really keep any sheep. One wire on top of the stone walls. But what my point about stone walls was that you asked how come we raise sheep here.
Right,
And
right.
the point is that 150 years ago to 200 years ago,
Yeah.
that was the sheep
Yeah.
were the mainstay.
This is what it looked like.
It was the mainstay of New
Right.
Hampshire agriculture.
Right.
Look at the big woolen mills all
Right.
over in Harrisville, which you just did.
Yep.
So the walls are falling down.
Yep.
But we do actually use walls for fencing animals. If you go to Ireland and England, you'll see perfect 4-foot-high stone walls that keep sheep in.
Wow, wow, yeah. So, okay, so then that's where I was headed actually, is stone walls don't really keep them in, so you have fencing.
The other part of the business is that we developed years ago when as I told you earlier, we've had about 12,000 lambs born here. So
Yeah.
we've been doing it a long time, and we found that we needed some better fencing. The olden days
Right.
used to be barbed wire, which is nasty with wool and all.
Oh, yeah.
And it used to be woven wire, which they get their head stuck in and everything. So we decided that we would look around, and we came up with some other fencing systems from other parts of this country, but also throughout the world. And so we developed Wellscroft fence systems. See, now they're coming over.
Oh, yeah.
And Wellscroft fence systems. And what that is about is we offer a service. We develop systems to people who are in agriculture. So we don't do any commercial, poolside, residential fencing, strictly agriculture. And when I started the business, in 1978, I would say that 80% of what I did was keeping livestock in, okay? Now, about 70% of it is keeping wildlife out.
Right, deer.
Deer,
Yeah.
woodchucks, raccoons,
Bears.
birds out of blueberry bushes.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, how about bears out
Right,
of beehives?
right,
your
right.
thing.
I know it.
So that's what Wellscroft does. So we put together systems. It's a nice small company, New England company. We cover all New England and Eastern New York. And that is a separate thing from what we do here.
Right,
But I think
right.
part of what's interesting is that because we have been farmers so long, we have actually used what we sell.
Right.
Some of the fences you're looking at where the sheep are down there, that woven wire, that's 15 years old, and it's
Right.
as straight as an arrow.
Right.
And so that's what people are looking for. So That's the other part of what we do. We're in Keene right now, in the Monadnock region. People probably know that the Woodard Pond area is one of Keene's watersheds.
Right.
And there's 10,000 acres out there. There is, I won't tell you everything that's there, but there's bear, there's mountain lion, there's, you know, deer and moose and everything else.
Aren't we lucky?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we also use guard llamas. We'll take a look at that in the barn to help protect as well as the fence.
Yeah.
Yep.
So why don't we head in there?
Okay.
And I don't know if we'll be talking with you or your son or Tiger, but we'll take a look and see what we have in there.
All right.
Good.
All right,
Thank you. So as you can see, we are here at Wellscroft Farm with now Colin. Colin.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we're going to talk a little bit about the sheep and the goats and the llamas that you have here that pretty much protect the herd as well.
They do.
Yep. And you have a lot of little goats. Are little goats called something else beside goats?
They're called kids.
Kids,
actually.
okay.
Yeah.
So you've got all these kids in here and lambs.
Kids and lambs.
Yep.
That's correct.
Great.
These are Boer goats, and they actually originate from South Africa. And so they've
That's where I think where I've seen them before. Yeah.
Yep. They've traveled all the way. Not these particular goats,
but the breed.
The breed comes from there.
Yep.
And so these guys you're looking at in here are about a week old.
Yeah. And we'll talk with. Let's see.
Our farm manager is Tiger.
Yeah, we'll talk with Tiger about those in a little bit.
Sure.
So we'll head over here and take a look at the sheep and the little lambs. Looks like everybody's pretty quiet. Now these were born probably 2 weeks ago or so?
Yeah, anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
These lambs here are in what's called an owning pen, which basically is an area where the young lambs and their mothers can get to know each other a little bit before they go out into the bigger pens that you see in the distance there with more animals. So we like, first the lambs actually start off in what's called a jug, which is just a simple 4x4 pen that just that lamb and its mother get to know each other. And then after a couple days there, they move into this area. And they familiarize themselves and learn that they're not the only lambs in the world. And, and they learn who's who.
Oh. And now they have some little tags on their ears.
Each lamb gets a tag. It does a couple of things. One, it identifies whether they're a male or female. So the male lambs will have a blue tag and the females will have a red tag. And then also it has a number on it that represents what lamb number it is. So if we're sorting lambs later, we can do that by the number. We've had about, or just over, 13,000 lambs since we started way back when. So.
And you have, what, a season, 200, 300 or something? Or?
Yeah, now it's about 200 each season.
So that's a lot of lamb.
It is a lot of lamb.
Wow. And now, what will happen? Does something different happen with the females than the males? Or how do you determine which ones you're going to keep and which ones you're going to send out?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the ones that we keep, we generally, because we have the pick, we like to pick out the ones that have traits that we would like to breed for. So when the lambs are first born, we record sort of their stats, what type of litter were they in, or did the mother have twins, triplets, what is their body shape like? We like lambs with long bodies, not too woolly a face, all those kinds of traits. And then we'll pick out some that we call our replacements. Those are ones that will go into our own flock next year. So that's usually around 20 or so. And then a lot of people like to buy lambs from us as breeding stock to raise their own. So we'll sell them that way. And then we don't keep too many males because you don't want too many males on the farm. And then the remaining ones will get sold for lamb.
Yep. It's so funny, I'm just looking at them now and I'm thinking, why is it that lambs look so cute? They're just, nobody ever told us that these were supposed to be cute. They just are. They're just so cute.
Yep, they just are. And the funny thing is, people get them, they're cute, and then they grow up and they do become big sheep.
Right. So just
Some are
like
cute, too.
kittens or puppies or bunnies or anything, they're cute when they're babies, but you have to also think about the fact that they will someday get bigger.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
They do.
Well, so when they're out in the fields, I know that you have dogs that will help herd, but what other animals might help them so that they can stay safe?
That's a great question too. So a lot of people use llamas, which are great because they're very tall. They will protect the flock. They'll stand up above them, and they'll really keep an eye on the perimeter of the fence, looking for predators. We've had llamas attack foxes that have come into the pen, or coyotes. I had one neighbor tell us, because we graze our animals down in the village, and so we're not always watching them, but we had a neighbor tell us that she actually saw a llama chase a bear away. So that's quite something. But
Yeah.
we prefer the llamas because they're much easier. They eat what the sheep eat. Guard dogs is another animal that people use, but you do have to feed them
Right.
a separate food. So our biggest llama over there is Jackson. He's checking us out right now, kind
Yeah.
of wondering what's going on over
Right.
here.
Right.
And he's got his ears pointed forward, so he's
Yeah.
kind of in a curious
Listening.
mode there.
Yeah.
And that's, they're a gelded male llama. We never put more than one in with the sheep. But they're great.
So their defense mechanism is kicking?
Yeah,
or
they will
spitting?
stomp.
Do they- does
they
the
do
spitting-
spit as well, but primarily they'll stomp.
Yeah.
And they have they're a very energetic animal, and they really can emit a power with their eyes,
Right.
almost like the border collies in
Right.
a sense. that
Because
David talked about.
they're very friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken care of llamas before. They can be very friendly and they're easygoing, but
But if you get on their bad side.
right.
yeah.
Or with the border collies, if they have a job to do, that's what they're going to do.
That's right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, yep. Wow. So you have this one here, and
That's
then
Jackson,
you
and
have
then we have
another
another
one
one
over
over
here.
here.
Did you want to feed that one?
We can do that.
Okay.
We have some
Yeah.
grain actually
Okay.
right over here.
All right. So this llama's name is
Okay, so this is Comet.
Comet.
And actually, when you approach a llama, Jody, what you actually want to do is put your face out rather than your hands, and he'll come over and sniff you.
Oh, really?
See, he knows I have some corn here. Hi, buddy. If you put your hand, sometimes they'll go away from it.
Yeah.
So I have some corn here. We'll just give you. He wants a snack. Here you go. Okay. They're in the camelid family. You can see their
teeth.
His lips is
Yeah.
kind of split there.
Yeah, yeah. Parker and Sally Hansel
Yep.
have llamas, and I've taken care of them before. And I always have to be careful because one of them does like to spit.
Yeah.
But they are so friendly, and I'll feed him right out of my hand. One of them right out of my hand all the time, because they just have this hierarchy anyway. That's probably what would happen if you had two of them together.
That's exactly what happens.
Right.
I know that if Jackson were standing right here, that those two,
Right.
they wouldn't necessarily be spitting at you. They'd be
Right.
competing against each other.
Right, and that's what it is because
Yep.
these other two are just beautiful.
Right. But
Yeah.
Comet's a very nice one. He's younger,
Yeah.
but he's really done his job quite
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So I have a question. I don't know if this really relates to all this, but hypothetically, if a llama was to get out, how would you attract him back into the fence?
It's happened.
Yeah?
We generally catch them. And
Yeah. But do you
these guys
lasso them, or?
No, these guys are friendly enough. Sometimes we usually have the crook that David
Yeah.
was holding earlier, and we
Yeah.
can put it around their neck. And it takes a couple people, and sometimes they know they're not supposed to go.
Yeah.
So they'll usually just
Yeah.
stop,
Yeah.
and they'll let us come over and,
Yeah.
and catch them. When we lead them down the road in the village, we'll put a halter on his face.
Right,
But
that would be the best
Yeah,
if you had a halter.
ideally
at
that's-
least, yeah. What I found was just let the animal get hungry and get tired, and it will come back into the pen. So anyway, it only happened to me once, and we were lucky. So yeah. Well, this is great. So let me see. I think we're going to go see Tiger, and he'll tell us a little bit more about the goats.
Tiger knows a lot about
Yep,
goats. He has
yep.
some on his own farm. But,
Yep.
He's done a great job taking care of ours here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, he can fill you in on that.
All right. Good. Well, thanks.
You're welcome. Here you go, Comet. Last bite. Make it count.
So here we are in the lambing area, and I'm not kidding. Ha ha! No, this is also the kidding area because we have some little goat babies in here. So we have Tiger here. He's going to tell us a little bit more about goats because you guys have been doing this for a few years.
About 7 years.
Yeah. And how did it get started?
Got started where I guess I kind of thought up the idea of looking into raising goats and how healthy the red meat is from the goats.
It is.
And so I was toying with the idea of starting up my farm with, you know, goats, and then Dave thought probably be a good idea, so we brought some in here, and at around the same time we both got started in goats. Here at Dave's we have about 20 goats, and we kid them out each spring and raise them up for meat.
Yep. And you have your own, you say, as well?
Yes.
And so what do you do with yours?
They're all raised for meat, and I sell breeding stock, and we have about 50 total on my farm, and me and Dave generally work together on moving animals, raising meat. I sell lots of different cuts, and David sells like halves and in wholes.
And do you do the slaughtering right at your facility?
No, that all has to be USDA processed.
So when people do have goats, they have to realize that this is a farm, and we all know that we go to the store and we pick up packages of meat in the meat counter. So even though this is a little bit more intimate because you get to know the animals a little bit, this is a farm, and if you're going to buy meat, you want to buy local. I mean, that just makes sense. You know what you're going to buy. You know that it's what it's been fed. You know, a lot of this meat that you're going to buy from Wellscroft or any other local farms, in most cases, is going to be grass-fed, or at least you're going to know what it's been fed. So if you're going to make a choice, you're probably going to eat meat. If you're not a vegetarian or vegan, you're probably going to eat meat. So making a choice to eat something healthy is the best way to go.
Yeah, and we find that with our customers, that's really nice because they actually can come here and see the facility, see the animals, see how they're raised, and you know, all these animals, whether they're lambs or kids, are raised, you know, with lots of love and care. And
everybody that we've talked to here is upbeat and loving, and you know, I mean, it is a farm. But you guys, I mean, you can just tell everybody's happy. All the animals are making noise. And it's great. So we have a few sheep over here, and we have a goat over here, and I think this goat was
this one was born yesterday.
Yep.
She had one single, and it's a nice little brown one.
So would the mom mind if we take a look at her?
No, we can do that.
All right. And she's a red, which I understand is more of a prized kind of color. Yeah. And she's a female, which is another good thing.
So we'll raise her up either for replacement for our stock here, or we'll sell her to another farm for breeding in the future.
So now, when you bred her, did you have to breed the mom with a plain colored red? Is that how you would do it?
It was the buck that bred the doe was a purebred, and he was white. He was white.
So how do you
he's got white and red in there, but it's the genes.
It's just the way it is.
And you know, so occasionally we get some colored ones, but the traditional boar color is the white and red.
Wow. And now, I know that most people don't realize this, but females do have horns. You know, cows have horns. That, you know, there's certain things that, you know, that people have to cut off. So just because an animal has horns doesn't always mean that it's a boy. So let's see. So where will these guys go from here? This summer they'll be out in the fields and free ranging. Pretty much.
We raise all the does. They'll go up back out on pasture when we wean the kids off. And they'll graze as long as we can graze them without, you know, any input of, you know, other commercial feeds or hay or anything until at least the first snow fly. And all the kids, like I mentioned, all the females we'll go through, sort all those. They'll be used for our own stock or sell them to other farms. The boys will all get raised up for meat, and generally they'll be raised for 5 to 6 months, which they'll be about 80 pounds, you know, or a little bit lighter for meat. And that's also called chevin.
And what is chevin?
Chevin is goat meat. Yeah, it's just a little bit more of a fancier name for it. So people, a lot of folks don't realize what chevin is. And then
I've seen it on the goat milk. Or not goat milk, goat cheese packages.
So that kind of, and a lot of people in America, when they hear eating goat meat, they shy away from it.
I know, it's really funny.
And what I find is any customers of mine, you know, I'll give them a little bit, they'll try it. And
so what's the best way that you like to see goat prepared? Probably have a
loin chops are pretty nice, rib chops, and those are nice, you know, those can be done on the grill, a little bit of garlic on them or something, and they're great.
Do you have to add a little bit of oil on them or anything? Because I know that it is pretty lean.
Yeah, it's very lean, you gotta cook real slow, and you know, you can. Everybody prepares it a little bit different, but it's a real good, tasty meat and very healthy for you. Also.
I used to go to a place in Long Island, New York, and they had an Indian restaurant there. And you probably sell to a lot of people in New York, especially for those kinds of things. But they would have some kind of a stew that they would put the goat bones in. They'd just cut them up and just throw them in. And just even taking the meat off the bones. That was what I wanted because it was just so nice right there. Yeah, it's good. So does Dave have any like open barn things? I'm not saying like specific dates, but does he do things in the spring and then summer, or can people come up and visit, or should they call first?
Yeah, we're generally open all the time. If you know, someone wants to come during the day sometime, they're more than welcome.
And I think you have school groups.
Yep, we do. And we just had an open barn actually this past Saturday, which was a good turnout. We had sausage, lamb sausage for people to sample, goat meat for people to sample, and it was really good. And there again, people that never tried goat meat tried it and were like, oh wow, this is
don't
good.
knock it till you've tried it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because it is delicious.
But we, you know, it's generally open to the public. You know, sometimes if we ain't busy, we can spend a minute with them. But we do, we've got the fence clinic coming up, which, you know, talks about fencing and all that. And we do school groups and,
Yeah, well, great. Well, I'm glad I've had a day to speak with all of you here.
Great.
You guys have all been so informative. If you are interested in being on In My Backyard, you can email us at inmybackyardch8@gmail.com, or you can you know, just stop by, I guess, next time that we're filming. You can just email us and let us know that you'd like to join us. We've been talking here today with Tiger and Colin and David and the dogs and the sheep and the goats and chickens. I would just say stop by and enjoy it, because this is about as close as you're going to get to being on a farm unless you have your own. So we'll see you again in my backyard.